Hey guys, this is Justin from Lottie Central. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be going over Google Forms. That is so versatile and lets you do so much innovation in your classroom. But don't worry, there's a starting point. It grades student tests instantly. So there's a lot of good reasons just to get started with it and to take it slow. I'm going to show you just a few examples before we jump into how to make a form. So I'm going to switch to what it would look like if you made a Google form, let's say for lower elementary. And at any time, if anyone has any trouble with the string quality, just type in for me and we'll get it all worked out. Now, here is an example of elementary school. A simple rhyming word matching or a word family matching. Here we have a kitty cat, right? It's all pictures, and we're matching the rhyming word. So to use a Google form, as of a month ago, you can have pictures as the question and as the answer type. A great tool for not just elementary, but also for mathematics when you have charts and graphs you want to enter in. I'm going to go with the correct answer this time on my Google form. Now I have another elementary example. This one includes an video. They could watch this video, learn a little bit about opposites, and proceed to answer whether or not sunny is the opposite of hot, cold, melting, or dry. Again, these are just general examples of how you can apply this to a lower elementary setting, using a lot of pictures and visuals. I'm going to go with cold. Now I do want to show you one reason why it's so awesome to use a Google form right quick, because we have text to speech and speech to text. Da, 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 da. We'll wait for that to load, huh? Okay, well, while that loads, let's look at our sample math problem. Right here we have a simple word problem where you would have to pick more than one answer. Google Forms lets you do that. We have checkboxes instead of multiple choice. So we can actually add multiple answers instead of just your regular multiple choice quiz that doesn't really apply to state standards. Because on state assessment, sometimes you have to pick more than one answer. I'm going to go with these two, blindly, right? Another good math example, drop down true and false. Very similar to what would be on state testing. I showed a little bit of this last time. A graph, just put an image in here to be used as part of a question. And next. Here's another example where you don't necessarily have to use Google Forms per se just for academics, but you can use it to enhance your teacher workflow as well. So instead of a student taking a test, maybe you just want an easy way, almost like an iPad app, to record data. This is an example of a behavior chart, or better yet, a behavior data tracker, where you can keep track of what's going on and where it takes place, and it connects all those dots for you. Again, I like to show off a little bit before I show you how to make a Google form. This is an example of using the date function in a Google form. It pops up with a calendar. Easy, simple to use. Click. I can enter in a time when the behavior occurred. I'll think PM. Let's see. I have a drop-down box to select students, and of course I used initials to keep confidentiality in place. And I have my setting. Where did it take place? We'll say the classroom. What antecedents occurred? Let's say the student was told no, and they had a visitor to the classroom. Behaviors? Tantrum, loss of control. Consequences? Timeout, loss of point or sticker. Again, I'm using checkboxes. I could pick multiple answers, and I have a space to add comments if I want to. Another good example. Now you have multiple choice grids for surveys. So if you don't have a SurveyMonkey account, or you want to have more control of your information, you can still use Google Forms, not just for your behavior tracking, not just for tests, but also for general survey style, which the multiple choice grid makes that very easy. This is very similar to the strongly disagree, strongly agree model. This particular one was ranked categories based on need or interest for professional developments. As you see, there is one answer per row per column. If I went here, it would move. So you have to pick if you are interested in something or not. Again, a good way to give a survey and have students create their own surveys if they're older and you have your students using Google Forms on a regular basis. And next. Here is a classic example of how you can use Google Forms to do peer review. Let's say there was a class project or a class presentation where students had to break up into groups. Well, there's a good peer review rubric that you can integrate into Google Forms. Students would have an iPad or a device and they would pick what project or group they're reviewing. I pick project 3. Here's another sample, presentation content. Instead of a multiple choice grid, I'm using a scale, a 1 through 5 scale. So on a scale of 1 being minimum, not very good, and 5 being excellent. The specific one, content contains several details and examples. So I'm going to give it a 5, presentation delivery, 2, 4, and perfect. And when your form is at the end, there is a submit button. Now I do want to stress, I just linked a bunch of forms that could be separate together just to make this presentation to go a little bit more swimmingly. I want things to interconnect. So I didn't have to open up 5 different Google Forms. I had them just separated by pages. Of course, each of these could be their own individual form. And they were originally, and I'll show you how I combined them later. As soon as I hit submit, thanks to the new update for Google Forms, I can now view my score. When I click view your score, everything I've done that I wanted a grade for is graded instantly. I see that I have picked the rhyming word, instantly graded. It confirmed that I got it right, so it's in the green. Opposites, you know what? Apparently I know my opposites. It's in the green. Math, oh my goodness, I don't think I did very good in math, did I? I missed both answers. And instead of showing me the answer, I have it set to where it shows me my mistake. And I have a link to a video lesson where I can review and try again to get the correct answer. So this is actual answer feedback. Really cool stuff. Oh my goodness. Hey, I got one right. Another one right. And as you see, behavior charting could be a Google form in itself, but this isn't something you would have a grade for. So there's no grades here. There's just a record of what I did. Same thing for the survey. Same thing for the peer review rubric. Now, since I'm the teacher, that's why I have this little red, well, orange on this screen, pencil to the top right. It says edit this form. So I'm going to go to the teacher view right quick. Your students would not have access to this when you send them a form. You only have access if you're in your account and you created that form. So this is the teacher view, and I'm going to look at my responses. I have 3 responses because I've done it 3 times. I'm going to show you the summary. Why was it worth putting the time to use Google Forms in the way I just showed you? Well, it's the instant grading, it's the summary, it's just the paperless feedback. It instantly gives me my averages, my median, my range for the class. Again, as many as kids takes this, the more data you would have to make it relevant, so you can plan your lessons and reteach accordingly. It will display the frequently missed questions that the students are having the most trouble with. Maybe it's a content problem, maybe the question's not worded quite the way it would require to be. And look, Google Forms builds in this little question mark that also says it's less than 50% that gets it correct. It'll consider it a frequently missed question. And also it gives me an average per question, so I can look at every question and see what students are marking. It also shows my point value. Now, as I get to the bottom, we won't see the screen anymore because we're not grading. Now we're just collecting data and comparing it. So I'm showing you right here are the quiz features built in to graded assessments that you want to use Google Forms for. Down here, it's just the data you want to track. And I'll show you how to differentiate between grading a lesson and just using plain old data. But there's our plain old data attainment model. As you see, by default, Google Forms applies charting for us, so we don't have to figure out which student has the most behavior problem if we wanted to use this way. Setting my antecedents based off frequency and count, behaviors, consequences. Survey example, excellent survey example right here, already puts in comparative bar graphs. I didn't have to do anything besides make the form and have people take it. My peer review rubric. Excellent stuff. Now, one thing I will show you before I show you how to make a form, right, because that's how I like to do things, a little backwards. But I like to show you stuff up front, get you interested. So I'm in my responses tab, and I'll go over that infrastructure soon. But I do want to say that you can put this kind of stuff into a spreadsheet instantly if you wanted to. I'm not going to be going in depth over a lot of spreadsheets today. Excuse me. But I think add-ons and spreadsheets will be a later course. But I'll show you what it looks like. If you wanted to create a spreadsheet, and I'll show you, and again, we'll create spreadsheet from this data. And there's my spreadsheet. It already has my score here and my whole class, what was answered for each student. Now, you used to have to use spreadsheets exclusively to grade stuff in Google Forms. Those days are past, but I wanted to show you that you can still get to a Google Sheet if you have to. If you have to do it. Definitely for if you're just tracking general data, not really a graded assignment, it's still good to come back here on the form so you can see everything. Regardless, instead of my summary in my responses to a form, you still have your individual tests that you can print out. So every time someone takes an assessment or takes a Google Form survey, however you're applying it, you still have the individual responses along with a summary. And you can rotate them right here and you can print them out. Let's not print right now. Alright, let's actually show you how to make a Google Form. Now that you know what it could be used for and how the data is presented, which is probably the biggest incentive for using Google Forms. Now, I'm sure you all know from my last course that Google Drive is drive.google.com. I'm already in one, and I'm going to create a form. Now I'm going to click on New, More, and Forms. Yes, I'll create it in this folder. Right here is my Google form. I'm going to give it a quick title to the top left. Example 1. And it is saved. Now I want to show you what all this interface is up here, what all these menus do, before we even go into constructing the form on this part. Let me zoom in here. Oh, a little bit too big zoom. There we go. Firstly, here's the add-on where I can load additional add-ons I've downloaded. I'll talk about that toward the end of the session, but this is where you would launch an add-on, which is kind of like a third-party program that works with your Google Apps. Next is our color palette. So this is how we make our forms look beautiful. So we click our color palette, and we can pick an orange color. We could pick blue, or we can pick a theme so they look really cool. They have a lot of built-in themes: food, dining. I'm going to pick birthday cake. Now you could upload your own photos and use as a theme, but it's a bit tricky because your photo has to be scaled a specific way, has to be the right dimensions. So I'll post a little bit information later if you want to make your custom theme for your Google form. Right here, I think that's a good starting point, just using the colors or using these custom themes. We're going to go birthday. Perfect. Now, if you want to preview your form, and you'll find yourself clicking this button a lot to see what it looks like in the student view, what it looks like when you're actually going to be taking the form, or someone's going to be taking the form, quiz or exam or survey for you, we click the eyeball right here. That's what our Google form looks like so far. We have animated candles in the background. We have a question that says example 1, and we have multiple choice that says option 1. Pretty grim so far, but we're going to spruce it up in a minute. Now we have our settings, a very important tab as you would imagine. When we click settings, the first thing we have is general. Under general, we can limit a response to just 1. So people can't go in time after time and keep taking a test. Now when we do this, respondents will have to sign into their Google accounts, which is good to do if you have Google Apps for Education, because then your students will be identified as soon as they take the Google exam, your Google form exam, and you don't have to provide a space for students to enter in their names or anything like that. So limit to a response is a good tool to use. You can also allow students to, or other teachers in your workflow, to edit after they submit, or see the summary and charts text responses. Now this isn't just for them, this is for the whole class. So if you don't want to have students see data for the whole class, don't check it. Again, I'm under the settings tab. Now we have another little mini category under settings, and that's for presentation. Definitely for long exams or long Google Forms, you may want to show a progress bar. So you'll see how much % is complete each page you're on. You can shuffle the question order, so you don't have to worry about making A tests, B tests, and C tests. The questions will be in random order, not random answer order. That's someplace else, but it'll mix up all the choices when you hit preview or when you send it. Everyone will have the same questions, but in a different order. The show link to submit another response. Again, if students aren't going to be submitting a response back to back, or they're not sharing a device, then it's good not to show a link for resubmit. But if they're using the same device, after they click view score, they could click submit another response, so another person could come sit and take that place. But it's optional, it's whatever you want to have. And again, you have a confirmation message to say thank you for taking the test or redirect them someplace else, all optional. Now the coolest new addition that we have here is quizzes. And if I want to make this test quizzable, that means gradable, so it grades instantly when the student hits submit. All I have to do is click make this a quiz. Now I have a little bit of options. Release grade. Basically that means show the student the grade before you do anything with it. which you can do immediately after they click the submit button, how I demonstrated, or you could do it manually later on by clicking don't release. I'm going to say immediately after they submit. Now I can further customize what they see. Do I want them to see the missed questions? Most likely you'll like them to see what questions they missed. You may not want them to see the correct answer. You may consider that, spoon feeding. That's okay. If you don't want them to see what the correct answer was when they missed it, uncheck it. If you want them to see the point value, check it. If you don't want them to see how the questions were weighted, uncheck it. Totally up to you. Importantly, whenever you adjust the settings the way you want them, we click the Save button to the bottom right. All right, now we're ready for quizzes. And I'll show you how we can set that up. Now, our first question right here is already a multiple choice, but I'm going to delete it and show you what it looks like to start from a blank page. Right here is the title page. This would just be whatever you wanted to call your chapter or beginning, the header for your test, just like you would have a paper test header. This would be your header. And you could have a description, a little bit of directions of what to do if you wanted to. I'll just type in directions so you can see. Now, on Google Forms, when you want to add a question, and the only thing you need to worry about for the time being is this little add button right here to the right. We click add a question and pop. It defaults to multiple choice. Now, let's make a multiple choice question. How are you today? I typed in the question. And right here, it defaults me with one option. I'm going to type in place of option 1, great. I'm going to press enter, good. I'm going to press enter again, okay. And there I have 3 options. Now, let's say you wanted a student or someone to add a third option, a fourth option that's not there. We have add an other category. So I'm going to click add other, and that's where a student could type in a response. But we don't always want that, do we? So I'm going to cancel it. And we're going to make this a quiz. So let's say I want this to be 10 points. I'm going to click on the answer key button right here. It brings me to my point scale. I'm going to type in 10. And now get this, this is the hard part. You click what you want to be the correct answer. And there, it's marked in green with a green check. I have made my answer key. Now I can bring it up another notch if I want to. I can add answer feedback. So I'm going to click answer feedback. I can give students feedback for incorrect answers. I can give students feedback for correct answers. And right here, that little paperclip looking thing is our link. So if we want to add a link for the students to go to review, we would type it or copy and paste it right here. I don't recommend just sending them to google.com, but I think you get the idea. This describes what the link does, and I'm going to click add. So I added my link and my description of what the link is, and I click save, and my student feedback is added. Now, right now, I'm still stuck in that answer key page. If I want to go back to editing my question, and this is very important because I can't change the question right now like I could earlier. I could add additional categories. We go back down to where we clicked answer key, and we see that there's the edit question button. We click edit question, bam! We're brought back to the original page, all good. We can edit and add other choices and not mess up our scale because our correct answer is up here. So I'm going to add another option. Let's say sick. There we go. Now let's see what this looks like. I'm going to go up to the top and click preview, which is the eyeball. A little bit better. I have my title page. I have my directions. How are you today? Great, good, okay, or sick. There's my progress bar that I checked was okay. Page 1 of page 1, I'm 100% done when I click that submit button. Not quite ready yet. I want a few more examples for you. Yes, I want to leave this page. Okay. Now, let's say you want to make another question. Easy to do. We click the add sign and we could add a question. This time, let's not do a multiple choice. Let's do checkboxes so we can pick more than one answer at a time. A new question. What is a multiple of 3? We'll have 3. We'll have 6. We'll have 4. And we'll have 5. And let's again make this a graded assignment by clicking our answer key. And we're going to say 3 times 1 is still 3. And 3 times 2 is 6. 2 answers. And I'm going to skip the answer feedback this time. You don't have to give it if you don't want to. And I'm going to return to my question by edit question. There we go. I made a multiple choice test. Now you can pick 2 choices. In fact, you have to. Now let's make this a little bit more guided. As you see when I click the preview button, what if my students did the first question and forgot to do the second one and click submit? Easy fix. All we have to do is click the required button. Required. Now when we click preview, you see the asterisk here and it says required. I'm going to click good, but I'm not going to check anything right here. I'm going to click submit and it says nope, you skipped this one. This question is required. So you can make students take their time forcibly by making them not be able to progress and see what they missed. So you don't have those blank answers. Great tool. All right, let's leave this page. And we could do a little bit more. Let's look at our triple dot right here. This little ellipsis in the bottom right. I'm going to zoom in. We can add a description. We can shuffle the answer order. So as we could in the menu shuffle the questions in different order, we can shuffle the answers in different order as well. That's really confusing if anyone's looking on someone else's screen. But one of the more important things you can do is go to data validation. Here I can select standards for answering. Example, right here is students select at least, select most, or select exactly. I'm going to have it where students have to select exactly 2 choices. And up here, I'm going to do the same thing. A little different though. I'm going to shuffle the question order. Let's see what it looks like. You see it's not quite in the same order as it was before, and it won't be each time I start it. Now I have to click 2. Let's see what it says when I try to pick 1. Oh, I have to pick 2. Oh, I picked too many. and it won't let me submit. A good trick to use when students may go too fast, or you want to make sure they give the correct answer by giving them a chance, not just spoon feeding them, not showing what the correct answer was and having them go back, but just give them a chance to think a little bit more. And also, if you're collecting data, you want to make sure people aren't rushing through those surveys and they're giving you exactly what you need. Now let's go to our third gradable type of answer, which is going to be a drop box. And for this one, I want to use the same questions. Let's say I want to use the same question answers, but in a different format. I have the duplicate button right here. So I'm going to copy this whole thing so I don't have to redo it from scratch. So let's duplicate. Boom. Just like the top. Let's say I just wanted to change one thing. How were you yesterday? And let's right click and spell check that. There we go. And I want it to be a drop down box. I don't want it to be multiple choice. Maybe I thought I had too many options. And it kept my grade right here, my correct answer key. So let's see what this all looks like now. Let's see what that drop-down box looks like. So I click my preview button, which you'll be clicking very often. Makes my new tab. Title page, how are you today? How were you yesterday? And now I have a drop-down box to choose from. Really good if you're listing multiple things or having people to pick categories. And drop-down box, like multiple choice, and checkboxes can be integrated using the quizzes aspect of Google Forms. Cool stuff. Now there are some other cool things you can do. Let's say you wanted to add a picture, like you did for my elementary example. Well, when I click how are you today, you see the little mountains right here. Those mountains bring me to a place where I can upload my own images from my computer, where I could take a screenshot, where I could send to a URL image, browse my photo albums, browse my Google Drive for images, or the coolest feature, search Google. So I can search Google for any image that's copyright free. And I'm just going to look for a happy face. That looks like a good one right here. Select. Whoa, that's a big happy face. I want to make it a little bit smaller. So I clicked it and I can drag the corners. And there we go. A regular size happy face. Now we can do this per answer as well, because now answers can be pictures all by themselves. So this time I'm going to search for a, not a happy face, let's type in sad face sick, see what we get. Oh, I'm going for it. There's a sick face. I think that's a lot of detail. In fact, if I wanted to backspace the question altogether, I could do that. So now when I click preview, I have my images loaded. Of course, I didn't pick images right here, but this would be the place where I would put them if I did it 3 other times. My drop-down box, my multiple choice. Cool stuff. So that's how you add images. Now let's say I wanted, before we go into other question types, my drop box to be first, since I want to talk about yesterday before I talk about today. My 6 little dots right here are draggable. So you just drag where you want things to be. And there you go. I've dragged it all together. Let's click preview. Yesterday is now first. Cool stuff. Now let's go into some other question types. I'm going to add a question. And this time I'm going to pick something that can't be done in quizzes. And that's a short answer because the answer can change each time. So I'm going to say 3 times 3 equals what? Or how about this? What is your email? Perfect question. I could add a picture if I wanted to again, and I have a little spot for them to type in their answer because this is a short answer. I'm going to put it on required. As you see, there's no answer key anymore. Now I'm going to click our triple dots and go to data validation. It's going to look a bit different this time. I can require whatever to be typed in to be a number. I can require it to be text. I require a certain length of the word, or I can say this has to exactly be put in the way I want to. A regular expression. This time I'm going to pick text. Text contains what? Let's say text contains an email address. And let's go to preview and see what that looks like. We are on preview. What is your email? Let's type in 3. Must be a valid email address. Let's type in justin@atanswers.com. Oh, that's a typo. That's not an email address. Type in .com. It recognizes it as an email address. Same thing that could be done with numbers or any other text. So if you want to make sure your kids are putting the correct fill-in-the-blank format, data validation for short answer is the way to go. Again, if you want to have kids persistently or consistently pick from topics, then it's probably better to have a good old drop-down box. But if they need to input information, or if you want to assess what they would know just from that blank line where they enter in something where there was previously nothing, no hints, right? Short answer is a good way to go. Yes, we'll leave this page. All right. Very similar to short answer. I'm going to add another one. We have paragraph. Let's say, what was the major cause of the French Oh, let's put a question mark. Of course, that would take a lot of information, but you have a lot of room because this is your paragraph response. It allows for a large text entry. Now, I prefer using a HyperDoc or a Google Doc because students who actually have ways to edit their text besides just spaces and capitalization. But if you want to collect feedback and comments, this is a good way to go about it. Now, when we look at data validation this time, it is going to be a little different because it is a paragraph and not a fill-in-the-blank answer. Off the bat, when we go to validation, it brings us the length, so we can have a minimum character count, 50 words if you want to. Again, we can make it reach exact specifications. It has to contain matches or doesn't match a certain pattern, or it has to have, you could say, a question mark or some type of punctuation if you wanted to. We're going to have maximum character count. Let's have a minimum character count of 3 required. And let's see what it looks like with our magic preview button. Can't stress that enough. 10 points, 10 points. And, oh, there's the 3. If I typed in 2, it wasn't enough. Now, of course, your students probably eventually be savvy enough to just hold down one button so they can hit submit, but at least it makes them think they Could say, you know, the teacher wanted a lot more words. Maybe I should expound upon my ideas a bit more. Same thing with here, this invalid email, which could be a number or text, what have you. It doesn't have to be email. I just thought that was a good example of what you can do. Now, moving on from paragraph, we have linear scale. How did the quality of the project, no, let's say how was the overall quality of the project? How was the overall So I have my question on my scale. I can say it's going to be from 0 to 1, 0 to 10, 9. I'm going to pick a 10, so a scale of 1 through 10. How would you rank something? Horrible. Fantastic. And again, let's go ahead and preview and see what it looks like. Dun, 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 dun. And there we go, a scale of 1 through 10. Simple and concrete. Of course, you could also use a scale, not just for survey options, but maybe for line grids, other mathematical things. But keep in mind, you cannot attach quizzes. You cannot make an answer key with your scales like you could anything else. As you see, it's not even an option down here. Another choice you have with questions, one of our final types, is this confusing multiple choice grid. It looks confusing at first. That was how I did my survey format. So each row can be a topic and each column is a rating. So we'll say agree, disagree. Nope, let's start over. Let's say column 1. Strongly disagree. Disagree. Agree. Strongly agree. I am Justin. I am a male. I am 31. Let's see how I agree with this. Back to our preview button. And there we go. There's our survey. I make it look easy, right? Well, it is easy when you just have a rhythm down and you've played with forms for a little bit. It makes things go really easy in your data collection, and it's really worth doing. Now, I think we have 2 question types left. We have date. Date is so cool. What is today? Because it gives you that calendar option. Now, I also have my time. Each can be their separate question. And I'll show you what it looks like in the preview button. Bum, 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 bum. Here we go. I can pick what the day's date is. And I could pick today's time, 5:45 p.m. But I can actually make these one and the same. So I don't have to have 2 spaces if I don't want to. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's say I just want one question. I don't want to have to have date and time separate. Easy to do. I'm going to delete my time because I don't need it. And on date, I'm going to go to data validation. I mean my triple dots because data validation isn't there. And I'm going to say include the time. Now there's an option for time as well. And I'll show you what it looks like. Let's leave that page. And here. Not only can I pick my calendar date, but time is right here in the same question. I don't have to worry about having a separate place to answer it. They're right here together. Makes things a little bit more accessible. It's not so busy. Cool stuff. Now, we've covered date, time, all these questions. Of course, these three right here, again, are the ones that you could attach quizzes to. We want to talk about the other stuff on this bar. What's on this bar? Why would we use it? Well, let's say you just want to add a title and a description, and you don't want to have a question attached to it. This is what you would click. Title, description, there we go. Kind of just like it looks in the page header. Think of it like making a subcategory. So I can drag this up here so I have something below it. I could just say part 2. Kind of like making a header. Preview. Now it has a little tag, part 2. Really good to emphasize an overall category that's coming up and keep it on the same page. Now we also have image. Before, this is the only way you could insert an image. Now you can actually insert images into the question or answer themselves. Same thing, but it won't be associated with a particular question itself, like a multiple choice. It would just be an isolated image. We have video. Video is really cool. Again, you can't insert it directly into a question, but you can have a question follow it. So we can click add video. I could type in a YouTube video, and I will. Let's type in zoo, see what happens. Wild animals at the zoo, rainforest, animals. There we go. Titled event. Watch for information and take notes. Maybe right click and spell check that and make an exclamation point because we mean business in our class. There's the video. Let's say I want to add a question though, because the video is not attached to a question. I'll click add question. I'll pick paragraph. The 3 things you learned from the video. And there's student feedback based on that video. Preview. And there we go. Following this particular video is a question. So it's kind of a workaround to have videos inside of your Google form. They're right above your question instead of actually in your question. It sounds a little confusing, and they'll probably change that. Like I said with images, originally we couldn't have an image inside the question. You had to put it right above it. Same thing with videos now. Videos have to be right above, not inside. As you see, the video right here is its own little section when I click on it. And the question's its own section. But when you hit preview, when they're actually viewing it in the student view, you can't really tell. It all looks the same, doesn't it? Now, we are almost good to go. I want to show you how to send a Google form, perhaps to your students or to an assignment. Right here is our send button at the top. We click send. We could type in the email of the person, the subject line, the message, so it sends it like an email, and you could actually have the Google form inside the email, and you can have collaborators or people that will help you make the form, so more than one person could work on the Google form at a time. We have our link, which is fantastic because anyone who goes to this website after you copy and paste it will be brought to the web page where your Google form is. I'll copy and paste that, and I'll show you in a second. And then if you want to embed it into a website, make it part of a website instead of a link, you have your embed code. I'm going to show you what it looks like to send it to somebody. So I'm just going to open a tab. I'm going to copy and paste that link that you could send to somebody. And there it is. Ready to take my crazy looking test. Now, I didn't talk much about sheets because that would kind of be a later activity. I'm going to mention one add-on that's really good for Google Forms, and I think everyone should try to use it. And that one is, let's go back to question, right up here. So if you want to add on, and the one I'm going to recommend is this one right here, form recycler. So I can reuse questions and answers from a previous form into a new one and not have to start all over again. It's really cool. I'm going to show you how to get to it. We click our triple dots to the right. We go to add-ons. We skip add collaborators, print page, all that. And there's not many to choose from here. You probably could just scroll down to find it. There it is, form recycler. I've already added it, but you would click add just like, or the plus sign, like it shows up in this another add-on. This is the form recycler. Mine says manage because I already added it, but this would say add if you haven't. So that's how you would get it there, by going here under the triple dots. Now to launch it, there's that different spot that I told you at the very beginning, add-ons. So we're going to launch it. I go down here, I have a lot running, form recycler, click recycle form questions, yes please. Let's recycle a question from, let's use Google Form example 1. It's loading, it's going to scan through all the questions and answers I put in here and pick one out for me. My minions are working to recycle your form. There we go. I'm going to pick this page top and 3 of these drop-down boxes for mathematics. Insert questions. And there they are. I just used a previous form, and I didn't have to go back and redo everything. Now, if I want to do my answer key and my point values, again, I would actually have to click, give a point value, pick a correct answer. But now I don't have to do everything again from scratch if I don't want to. And sometimes you do have little hiccups with it though, but it still beats nothing, right? So right here, it missed the false option. So I had to go back and add it. But again, I'm not redoing the whole thing. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just using form recycler to at least plug in the majority of the information, and I go back and check it to make sure it's accurate. Perfect. Now, last thing, let's say you wanted a page break. You don't want one big long Google form, like I have right here. Let's say you did your form recycler and you filled everything up. You can add a page break, which says add section, right here. Add section, add section, and there it is. I've added 3 sections. Section 2, section 3. Let's add this one right here to 2. So basically that's a page break. So when I hit preview, I pick all my answers, correct or wrong. There's that subheading I had. I didn't make this a required question, so I can skip it. I hit next. There's my page breaks. There's a next button, so you can limit the content per page if you wanted to. There's my page 3, and submit. And I can view my score. So if you want to add those extra pages, easy way to do it. And a more advanced feature I'm not going to jump into right now, you can go based on answer. So if a student picked a particular topic out of true false, let's say this says pick which topic. We have mountains, ocean. I could say if the student picked mountains, they would go to section 2, which is next, or if they picked ocean, it would bring them to the 3rd and they would skip this one entirely. Now I'll show you what that looks like. So you can have a choose your own adventure set if you wanted to. So let's go through one last time. Good. I'm sick. Email is none@none.com. We don't know what happened to French Revolution. We strongly disagree about everything. 324. Skipping that. Have to pick a topic. Oh, no, let's pick ocean and skip session 2. And there it goes straight to 3 where I can submit. And there's my viewed score. My student response feedback. Again, I'm only displaying the incorrect answers to the student, not the correct answer. And I'm good to go. Alright guys, thank you so much for attending this live stream. I'll have everything out in a moment and I'll add some additional annotations and feedback to come on this video. Again, this is Justin. Thank you guys so much.